Are you working out regularly? Are you eating the best you can? Are you drinking water, doing all these things, yet you feel stuck and you feel like you're not getting results? Okay, guess what? You are going to love today's guest and today's podcast because I've got Andi here joining me, Andy Veenker, and she is going to give us some tips on what to do when you're not seeing those results. Welcome to LadyBoss Unplugged. This is Molly Richards, your host. I am beyond excited to empower you to overcome life's obstacles, to form new healthy habits, to cultivate a growth mindset, as well as bring in some super cool guests who will share their own kind of magic with you. Oh, did I mention we'll have fun too? Heck yes, we will. Join me for weekly, unfiltered, raw, real, and encouraging conversations that inspire transformative change, that give you the tools to create a positive domino effect in every aspect of your life and just have fun hanging out. Now, let's get unplugged. All right, welcome to LadyBoss Unplugged. This is Molly Richards, your host, and today I need a drum roll because we have Andy Veenker joining us again.
Hey, we're back.
We're back. She is the lead trainer for LadyBoss, and she is going to throw down her knowledge, her wisdom, her joy, her smile, her energy. If you're watching the video, oh my gosh, her smile makes me smile. Her laugh makes me laugh. Or maybe you're just listening to us. You're going to smile probably with us, alongside us, and laugh as well. But we have Andi joining us today. Andi is amazing. She is a mom of 3. She's a wife, a podcaster, a published author. She's been in the fitness industry for 15 years. She is an influencer. She is amazing. And you're going to love her if you haven't heard from her yet. So welcome to LadyBoss Unplugged.
Yay. So excited to be back. Long time.
A long time, girlfriend. So you're a fitness instructor. You've been in the fitness industry a long time, and you're a LadyBoss trainer. So I'm sure you hear this a lot from women who are like, Andi, I'm doing all the things. Like, what's going on? I feel stuck. We would love for you to throw down your wisdom and just share what you would say to this person.
So many things. Dear girl, thanks for being here. I think I would always start. First, welcome to Talks with Trainer Andi. I think I love asking questions. I've started to learn. I've learned that a lot of times I assume that people mean something, but they probably mean something else. And so I'm like, let's ask some clarifying questions first. What are you doing? How are you eating? How often are you moving? And also, what is your definition of results? And how are you tracking results is a really good question too. I'm like, I hope you're writing down all those questions because I might forget them and they're all important. But
writing them down.
Oh, nice, thanks. But I think like going back, let's start from the end. How are you tracking results? I think a lot of people put a lot of weight, pun there, unintentional use of weight into the scale. People always go to the scale and think that is like the end all be all way to define their results. And so like first, let's start there. Are you tracking your progress through a scale? And if so, what else are you using? And or is this the only metric? The scale I think is important. A lot of people will be like, throw out the scale. I feel like the scale does have important information, but it is just that information. And it's only a piece of the information because our scales are they reflect our overall number. They don't know the work that we put in. They don't know the difference between water or muscle or bones in our body. They're an important metric, but only one metric. And so that's the first thing I would say is, how are you defining your progress? What are some of your favorite ways to track progress? Like for me, I love taking progress pictures and videos. I feel that has been so awesome for me, not to just be able to like look back and say like, look at all this progress that I have documented, but also because I have days where I'll go like weeks and weeks being like, I've been doing all the things and I don't feel like I've changed a bit. But then I can look back at these pictures or videos and say, okay, look, something's happening. And it might not just, it's different when we see ourselves every single day, right? So we can't just look in the mirror being like, I feel like I've lost some weight. Like, it's like, no, we have to be able to have some way of tracking that, right? And so what are some things that maybe you've done even? How do you track your progress, Molly?
Oh my gosh. Okay. Okay. Those, I'm taking notes. I hope that y'all are taking notes. So real quick, when I listen to podcasts, I might have said this before on a podcast, but I will be like on a walking path, listening to a podcast, and I'll be like, here's my blinker. I pull over, pull out my notes, and I'm literally like just taking notes on because I'm like, I don't want to forget this. So I love all those things you said. So I also want you to know that I've stalked your Instagram. You guys need to stalk Andi's Instagram and she'll share that with us at the end of the podcast, what it is, if you don't yet. She's adorable. And there is a video that she does where she talks about like it's her progress video. So she shows like after she had her baby and she's dancing in the same place. And it's like in a locker room at the gym, I think. And then you show like your after, and it is so awesome because you have the same joy on your face and in your body and your energy, by the way, in both. So I could tell you're both happy in both, but then you see like the work you did, and I'm like, dang, like that was cool. So I can already imagine the work that went behind it, but I love that video. I loved it so much. I was like, I have to tell her that. So this is perfect opportunity.
My dance
so go and see
formation.
that, guys. Yes, formation. Yes,
I was like very proud of that
encouraging.
video. I love the weight loss dance
really
formations.
Thank
you.
It totally stood out to me. I loved it. Yeah. So I always talk about like when I was younger, but really when I was younger, I watched my sisters get on the scale and talk about that. And so as the younger girl, I was like, scales are the devil. Like,
Yeah.
I'm so scared of the scale. And I know that sounds weird, but it was watching people be obsessed with a number, like really messed with my head. And so for me, I'm actually going to the scale a little bit more because I have different goals, and I've gone through a lot of therapy for that.
Yeah.
So, but now I go, it's like, if I put on, I put on a pair of shorts the other day that last summer, I couldn't get over my hips. And I put them on and I was like, are these the same shorts? I was like, oh my gosh. And I was like, and instead of being like, yay, I'm this, I'm that, I'm skinny, I'm this, I literally was like, what have I done to get to where I am? And it was wild. And I thought that was cool. And so, I don't know. I do photos really show me, because I made a change because I did see a photo from a year ago and I was like, who is that? What did she stop doing? What's going on? You know what I mean? And so photos for me are very like, that's a lot. And it's, again, neither of us strive to be skinny or perfect. We just want to be like the best feeling of ourselves. Right.
Yeah. And a lot of times that can reflect in photos too, like how you can see it. I had a friend that recently posted a transformation and her body looked very similar, but it was her eyes. Her eyes looked so different. And she's like, you can see the noticeable confidence and like the way that she had felt in herself. She's like, you can see it in the pictures. And it was so like, it was a night and day difference. So even if there isn't like noticeable physical change, the photos and videos are very telling of where you're at. And one of my dance formation videos I was editing, I noticed at the beginning. So the dance formation, for those who don't follow me, I started taking videos and stuff. Like I used to do bodybuilding and stuff, so I'm very used to progress videos and pictures. But after I had my last baby, I was like, I want to track this. So I would do a video and then I'll take screenshots. But then I didn't know what to do. Like going back to my camera, I felt super awkward being like, shuffle back and turn it off. And so I just started just awkwardly dancing toward my camera. And so that's kind of what started it all, is like I started to notice in all these videos of my progress, I was dancing at the end of all. But you can even see, like my sister pointed out in one of my first ones, she's like, your posture is even different. Like I was happy and I was comfortable in my body and I was working towards something new, but you could see that even like my posture was just like slightly like more like quiet and like a little bit more toned down than I usually would be by myself dancing in a locker room. I'm like pretty extra when I want to be, but not in the beginning.
No, I would love you.
Like no one's walked in on me yet. I just dance in silence. There's nothing happening. It's just me dancing
Oh,
awkwardly at my camera. But I was
yeah.
going to say, like, how awesome is it that we do have that ability to decide what works for us. And how interesting it was to hear even your experience about like watching your sisters on the scale. I think something that's important to recognize is if there is something like that, if there's something in your life that gives you that anxiety or has that much ability to determine the way you're going to see yourself the rest of the day, like the scale, like if that number is going to throw you, that's a really good cue to say, maybe this isn't the healthiest way for me to track my progress. I
Mhm.
need to find other
Mhm.
alternatives, whether it is like, yeah, noticing clothes fitting differently or
Mhm.
looking back at pictures and videos or being able to figure out like even notice, some people take journals. Like today I felt like really tired and kind of groggy, or today I felt like I had really good energy. And this is what I noticed.
Mhm.
Being able to track in so many different ways, I think will also give us a lot healthier of a vision of or a healthier perspective on where we're at and a better narrative
Mhm.
of our current phase in our journey. So then that can also help us kind of be like, okay, am I plateauing or am I just like needing a little bit of self-compassion and an extra like hug
Right.
myself moment? So yeah, love that.
We
So
always need hugs.
I know
That's awesome.
we always need it.
So if someone's like, okay, so I'm working out like most days of the, 4 or 5 days a week, whatever it is, whatever someone's doing, and they're like, well, but and I'm eating pretty good and I'm not seeing results. When it comes to like food, what do you think someone should do when it comes to like when they're like, I'm eating this or I'm doing this and I think I'm doing it right? Like, what are some suggestions you would give somebody when it comes to like food?
Obviously, that's a pretty individual question, right? And so I would think I would
Mhm.
go about it two different ways. We'll say if someone was trying to lose weight and they had been dieting for a long time, because that's probably the one I see the most is like I track everything I eat that goes in my mouth, and like I'm eating at like a calorie deficit or I'm like dropping calories and I'm just not losing weight. Something that I see a
Okay.
lot in women, especially recently, is how many women like we know that if we want to lose weight, we need to like have more movement than calories, right? Coming in, or at least like notice and you want to be able to track it. Don't just like assume that we're eating less calories. We want to be able to like actually, depending on your goal, you want to make sure that you're getting really specific with your training and your eating.
Mhm.
And that means you need to know how much we're eating, whether that's through a food tracker or at least just being mindful of like, I'm watching my protein and hitting 20 grams, whatever. But something that I have noticed is that there are women that will be dieting forever and our bodies stop losing weight. And a lot of this can do with different variables like age, like hormones, like our activity levels. Sometimes you'll see people who love doing like really high intensity workouts and they don't eat very much and they can't lose weight,
Mhm.
but it's because our bodies need food for survival. And so sometimes, as backwards as it sounds, if we get to a point and we're really struggling to lose those 5 pounds and I've been dieting for like 9.5 months, chances are you might actually need a diet break, like a week or two of completely not tracking and just
Yeah.
eating according to what your body's asking for. Like I don't I believe in educated intuitive eating. And so
I love it.
what I mean by that is like we want to be able to gain an understanding about how food processes in our bodies, but then also
Mhm.
notice how you feel. Like if we're eating, if I want like a dessert. Some people like push intuitive eating like too far. But like say I want I want ice cream and I will eat. No, I don't eat ice cream. I'm lactose intolerant. Let's do a cookie instead because thinking about it, I'm like, oh, my tummy. But I
Perfect.
love perfect. We'll go to the cookie. And so I like love a good melty cookie. And if
Mhm.
I'm eating it, I if I'm paying attention to how I'm feeling, chances are like my body will tell me like, okay, that was enough to soothe the craving. Or we could have a little more. Like we feel okay, we want a little more. Being able to decipher like how we actually feel as we're eating, being very in
Mhm.
tune with what our bodies are actually saying, not just following a craving for the sake of following a craving, but listening when we're honoring that craving and saying, okay, was that bite all I needed? Cool. Was a whole cookie what I needed? Okay. But not pushing beyond what our bodies are saying, really saying to us. But yeah, kind of going back though, maybe checking and seeing, do you need a diet break? Do you need to be able to come back to more calories so that way your body has somewhere to go? If we continue to drop our calorie intake too far, then our bodies have nowhere else to go, right? Or same with cardio. If we're doing too much cardio, especially cardio, lifting, you can kind of go as often as you want to. You can train 6 days a week and have no negative effects. But cardio, if you do too much all the time, our bodies become stagnant and there's nowhere else to go except for up, like adding more. And we don't want to do that. It kind of adds to wear and tear. No one has time for that. So pulling back and eating a little bit more is actually it's so much better on our bodies and our brains. Now, say the opposite question, like if I'm wanting to lose weight, but I don't know how much I'm eating. I feel like I'm eating like relatively healthy, but I don't know for sure. I have a protein shake twice a day or something. I don't know. I would invite that person to start tracking. And sometimes tracking can be intimidating. I would say don't look at the calories, don't look at any of the numbers, except for at the end of the week, just to see how much you're eating. That's what we want to see is like, tell me everything that you're eating and don't feel any type of way about it. It's just information. So if you have that, like, I love like giant bacon cheeseburgers, if you eat that, log it. And so that way we actually know like, what are your current eating habits? So we know which direction to take. Otherwise, you're just kind of taking a stab in the dark. If you were to just automatically start dropping calories, sometimes you might just get like super, super hungry or binge eat, or that will lead to more negative effects than if we just figure out where we already are and then kind of taper from there. And so that's kind of where I would go nutrition wise.
Love it.
Yeah. You want to, don't feel like you need to cut out a lot of food to see results, especially if you want to see them fast. You like, it's not worth it. It doesn't last. Just like being able to see your body where you're at right now, and then make a plan that just is so gentle. You'll see results sooner than you think, and they will last longer in that way.
Yeah. I love everything you said.
So that was like drinking out of a fire hydrant. Sorry.
I love it. But tracking is it's so important. And when I first, did tracking myself, I was like, oh gosh, I don't want to do this. Do you know what I mean? And and then when I did it, I was more aware of like what I was eating, or also like if I wasn't eating enough some days, or I wasn't eating for a long period and then I was totally eating. Like it was so interesting. I was like, wait a minute. And then I would eat a meal really late at night or something and wonder why I wasn't sleeping well. You know what I mean? Either. So it really helps you learn like your habits and all of that. It's crazy. And then what about now I want to track all my food. But what about also tracking like our workouts too? I think, like do you think people should work out a certain amount of days a week, or like you said, like not cardio every day? And like how often do you think women should lift? My doctor recently said to me, if you lift weights, like lifting weights is so important, Molly. Like he was actually telling me really quick, I just want to share this. He was like, because I said, do you think I should run? Do you think I should do this? He's like, I honestly don't think running is the best thing. That was just his advice. He's like, he said, lifting is so much more important. And he's like, if you lift 4 days a week, you will add 10 years to your life. And I was like, I'm lifting. And lifting stuff is cool, by the way. Yeah. So stuff, weights. But how do you feel about that? I mean, as a trainer, and also if, like you said, you just have such a good background in this, like, how often should we lift? What do you suggest?
So it's dependent on our goals, for sure. Okay. But like your doctor said, like being able to lift 3 to 4 days a week, especially for women, it's not just beneficial for our physique, which by the way, cardio, our bodies will kind of lose weight according to how our bodies lose weight with cardio. When we lift muscle, we can actually alter or manipulate our physique to look a certain way. Like if you want to look like you have a smaller waist, like I have a very square trunk like torso. And so I've been able to like work on lifting and having, rounder shoulders so it looks like my waist is smaller, or like bigger, like stronger legs. And so it kind of, you can make your physique look however you want to when you are lifting. You cannot do that with cardio. And people usually
Right.
think that you can. It's not the case. It's like we want to be able to lift. So not just aesthetically, but we do love the aesthetic
Yeah.
perks. But there's so many other benefits like bone density. You will increase bone density when you lift. And how many of us as we age start to see deterioration of our bones, and how many seniors, like how many women are falling, and that's, like, and it eventually can like hurt them or lead them to the hospital, um, because they don't have that strength. And so being able to also increase the bone density, your circulation, and your physique, like there's just so many great benefits to lifting. And if you're new to lifting,
Right.
check out our LadyBoss programming. But then also being able to um to think small, like pick one muscle group every day, do your legs one day, your back one day, arms one day, chest one day. And just being able to like rotate those 4 days a week will make a tremendous difference versus not. And then with cardio, there are different seasons and times where, like we want to be able to have more intense cardio. And sometimes a lot of times it's like the mental relief that we feel when we have that really high exertion. And if you're somebody that craves that like high intensity because it makes you feel like those endorphins, girl, do your thing. I think for overall weight loss and health, you actually don't need a lot of high intensity training. Our bodies actually move or burn fat easier or more productively with a walk, with moving. It's actually like the lighter movements that burn the most, which was shocking when I learned that. I'm like, so I've been doing hit exercises every single day for no reason.
Same,
And like
same.
there's
Yeah.
definitely a time and a place, and those high intensity workouts are like so good. And again, what depends on like the season of life and our goals. But for overall health, if we can just walk 20 to 30 minutes a day, just walking, that's like the best exercise for us cardiovascularly as well as mentally. And it will give us that longevity and strength throughout our whole lives. Walking is something that we can hopefully always do, or even dancing in the kitchen, or doing those small movements actually are like burn the most for us, and they make us
Yeah.
happier. And so it doesn't
I
have to be grueling. Oh, go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, I agree. A dance in the kitchen and a nice walk are magical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they can do
Keep
wonders.
going. This is awesome.
Oh, yeah. But yeah, they do wonders for us, not just mentally, but to see the physical benefits of how lifting, and it doesn't have to be like CrossFit, it doesn't have to be like really hardcore powerlifting, like just gently, gently lifting, or even doing body weight is considered like strength training.
Mhm.
So it doesn't
Yeah.
have to be big, it doesn't have to be complicated, it doesn't have to take forever. It's these small movements every single day that kind of compound into our overall health, right? And so we want to think about it as like one rep at a time, we are getting stronger. One step at a time, as we're walking, we're getting healthier and increasing our longevity. And so that's kind of where I would go with exercise. Again, it if you have more specific goals, like when I'm doing my bodybuilding preps versus when I'm just training on a regular day, that looks very different and the training is very different. So just know the more specific your goal is, the more specific your training and nutrition has to be. But if it's just like
Mhm.
overall health and just generally trying to like lose weight or feel good, it's a lot more gentle of an approach, I think, than a lot of us and the fitness industry likes to
Yeah.
let on.
Yeah. I love all that. And personally, I was, like I said, a year ago, felt frustrated with myself. And I love group fitness, but my husband was like, babe, I promise you that if you just come to the gym and you actually, you not actually, but like you lift weights and you do the machines
Intentionally. That's what
um,
the word we'll use is
intentionally. Thank
intentionally.
you. Thank you. And, he kind of gave me a program, like, start out with 10 minutes on the treadmill. And then I do that. And then I go and I lift for like 45 minutes. And then I spend, or 45 minutes. And then I go on the Stairmaster for 30 minutes. That's my workout. And I don't go above a certain heart rate. Anyway, he did this for me. And I decided to believe him, and it's changed my body. And so for me, that was cool. And I think that sometimes when we, like you said, when you mix things up, even when it comes to your food or whatever, like my body is now kind of like not in shock, but it's like, oh, okay, you're not just doing the running you were doing before. You're not just doing this. It's like it likes to guess a little bit. And I think that's really cool. Also, my butt was getting really flat when I was eating too much. So I want a booty. I want a booty. I want a booty.
It's peach season. It's peach season 2024.
It is peach season. And actually, someone walked up to me the other day. They're all, look at your booty. And a year ago, I would have been offended, right? I would have been like, how dare you? And I was like, yep, check it out. You want to touch it? You want to slap it? I did. I just said that on the podcast. But and then she did. It was a friend, and it was funny. So
it was a stranger, but it was fine.
Just kidding. It was a random person at the grocery store, and I was like, all right, that was weird. In the produce aisle. Okay. Anyway, this is what it's like when Molly and Andy hang out together. But these are just. Oh,
so we are.
Okay. So anyway, so this is just so important to know that like we all get frustrated. We all, have a vision of success, which I think that when you said that, when you're like, what do you actually want? What are you doing to get there? Like knowing those things instead of just hoping for the best. Hoping and wishing will not get you results. Darn it. Right. Or buying a program or having a monthly subscription to a fitness thing or just having like something like that. It's like you have to know what you want, I think is so important. And that's why I share my journey with you guys. Like I was like, what do I want? Like what happened to me? What I'm going to be real here. I was like, should I share this? I'm sharing it because this is LadyBoss Unplugged. Yes. When I looked at that picture of myself, I was like, what am I doing? And all I knew is, and I'm just going to say this, to be honest, I was having like wine with my friends too often. And I was like, wow, that's just drinking sugar. And I'm not shaming anyone, but I was like, why was I doing that? And when I honestly just stopped having wine, and that was a game changer for my body. So I share, and also I slept better and I felt more clear, and now I don't even want it. And it's like really cool that if we're aware of our good habits, celebrate those, but also notice what you're doing that might be sabotaging you in a way that might be taking you off track. That was mine. But for me, I was like, oh, we're all just going to dinner, or, oh, I'm cooking Italian food, so I need to open red wine, or like a friend's coming over. And everything was like, every day was like a celebration. I'm an empty nester. I was celebrating, y'all, but I was celebrating too much. And it was showing on my arms. It was showing on my tummy, I was getting like love handles, and I'm being real. And I also know that my hormones were a mess, but I can't talk about doctor stuff. None of this is doctor advice or anything, but I had to make changes. So I think looking where you are, what you're honestly actually doing or not doing, and just being real, like I said, and then saying, what do I want? What do I want? Am I willing to make those changes? What will it entail? And am I committed? That's what I had to do. And I feel the best I have felt in like 10 years. And I share this just to give hope for people who might feel lost, frustrated, like they don't look good. That was me. And I was like, what is happening? So
I love that you shared
little
that.
Changes go a long way.
It does.
And it's yeah.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say it's fun because now I'm encouraging a bunch of my closest girlfriends. They're like, you know what? I'm going to do that now. And I'm like, try it. I'm not telling you ever what to do. In this podcast, we're not telling anyone what to do, right? We're just like, this is what works for us. And that's what I tell my friends. Do it if you want. But for me, it's been a game changer, and also like mental clarity. And anyway, so it's really cool. I'm just proud. And I'm proud that I was willing to say, I'm not feeling good. So it's okay for us to just get real with ourselves.
Yeah. And even to kind of piggyback off of that, like it's not a bad thing, right? Like there are so many things that we have in our lives. Like some people love soda, some people love cookies, some people and those things, I think when we can regulate and find balance, knowing that these things are things that we can enjoy, but when we do, let's make it intentional. Let's make it so when we do go out with friends and we do want to have that glass of wine, it's something that you're planning on, and it's something that's intentional. And I think too, like things like that become more special to us when we're mindful of as we're kind of making that part of our life. We're not, you know, and sometimes it means like taking it out completely, and that feels great. And being able to navigate that on our own is so important. But I think when we get intentional with all of it, with our food, with our training,
Mhm.
things start to change because our focus on them changes, and the importance that we put on them. And I think that's really
Mhm.
important to notice too, is like how intentional are we being? Um, and how is our language around stuff like that? Like what are we manifesting as well? Because sometimes we'll also kind of like whatever we put out there, we're also kind of telling the universe like this is my reality. So if I'm also
Yeah.
saying like, hey, I'm not ever gonna lose weight, this is my narrative, I'm doing everything and like it doesn't work out for me, like that's self-talk that we
Yeah.
might not notice. Like you're telling your brain all these things and you're manifesting this too. So not just being intentional with our training, with our nutrition, but intentional with the way that we're speaking to ourselves and others. I think we're like the number one person that hears us. Our brains hear it
Yes.
first. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
that's, I think, just getting intentional. So if you're somebody like, I love picking a word of the year, instead of doing resolutions. I'm trying to, my perfectionist
Yes.
self needed a
Yep.
break from resolutions, and that's okay. Um,
Yeah.
but like a word that has been really good for me was intention. Like, what is my intention behind this? When I'm about to do something, when I'm about to take on something new, what is the intention that I have, and what intention do I want to set in this? And that can just bleed into everything, and how powerful the intentions behind our actions can. And like, it's so powerful how our intentions behind our actions can actually like manifest, if that makes sense.
Yes. I love the word intention. Might have to steal that for 2025.
I'll
But
absolutely do
but
it.
that Thank you, thank you. But that also helps us like take ownership of what we're doing, of the choices we're making, of the what we're, and I love the word, I love manifesting. That's my whole new thing that I've been obsessed with the last couple of months, like meditating and manifesting. And I know that where the mind goes, energy flows, right? So when your mind goes to where that intention is, your energy is going to flow to that. Your everything. And don't, I read this. I'm actually reading a really good book called Mind Magic. I just finished it. It's the Audible, so I listened to it, and he was actually talking about when you're lifting and you are intentional. Like, let's say you're lifting, you're doing like your arms, you're doing biceps or whatever, and you're lifting and you're actually thinking of that muscle building. And you put the intention behind, I am building this muscle is getting strong. There's science that says your muscle is actually going to get stronger
It
because
is,
you're
yeah.
putting the intention behind that. I mean, that can go into all of our lives, like the intention we're putting behind the relationships that we have. The work that we do, the whatever it is, like be intentional and your life will change. Like that, when you said that, I was like chills again. You give me chills every time you're on the podcast. So, but it's so true. And I took so many notes when you're talking, but being intentional is so good. And then you said one more thing, about, we could like you were saying, it's not bad if we want that cookie or if we want that ice cream or if we go out with our friends and we have a glass of wine, make it intentional. And the funny thing is I keep going out with my sisters or my friends and I'm like, okay, maybe tonight's the night I'm going to have a glass of wine, and that is okay. It will not make me bad. I am not
Mhm.
bad. And I'm a big girl. I could choose that. But when I sit down, I'm like, how do I want to feel? I actually want to feel really good. I'm not going to have it, which is weird, but it's really cool when you come to that place of like, it's not a bad food, it's not a bad drink, I'm just not choosing it. And that's another thing that I feel is really important too when it comes to success is I love when we own our choices. Instead of saying I can't have that, I'm like, "Oh, I'm just not having that right now."
Yeah.
And
I'm
that
actively
feels so
choosing.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, and even if I say it to myself when I'm sitting down, like, out to dinner with people, I'll be like, "Okay, I'm not choosing that right now, and that's amazing." Like, I sit there and I have, like, a party by myself
You're
in
like
my thoughts, and my husband now knows the face because 'cause I'm, like, dancing, and he's like, "Oh, she's celebrating herself." I'm like, "You be quiet." Kind of. But I just feel like if we recognize the power that we have behind our choices and not just letting those choices happen or letting the choices that we don't want to just happen, then we're going to grow and we're going to reach those goals and we're going to have that success. So everything you said, amen, all caps right there. And I love a diet break, by the way. I need to go back to the diet break because so many times people are like, diet, 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 diet. not a lot of, and all of a sudden, if you do that break, your body's gonna be like, okay, what? Like, that's cool.
Yeah.
That was really good advice right there too. I loved that.
I think a lot of
Yeah.
us forget that that's an option. I think, like
Mhm.
we do have like a very American, like in the US, we have a very
Mhm.
strong hustle culture. And I think that's why we have so much amazing creativity and innovation, because people are hustlers.
Yeah.
But also being able to recognize like there's a time to hustle and there's a time to rest. And there's a time and like to be able to recharge and refuel so we can have the energy and the drive to hustle and the brain functions. Like being able to do diet breaks is just so good for our whole bodies and our brains. So I love that you brought that back up.
Yeah, and
It's
it's
so
like
important.
cycling, right? It's like
Yeah.
cycling. So I think that's when we kind of shock the body a little bit. That's really good. I'm kind of cycling with social media right now. I go on
And that's
breaks and then I'm
okay.
like, okay, I'm back and now I hate it and I'm back. And you know what I mean?
But you're being intentional
And then
about
when
it.
I'm off, I'm like, very intentional. Okay, that's a whole other podcast. But oh, this is all such such good advice. And I love that there are so many different ways to just pay attention. Our body, like my body is different than your body, by the way, which is
Yeah.
different than every
What?
person who's listening to this. I know. But like sometimes I'll say to someone, well, this is working for me. They're like, I've tried that. It doesn't work for me. It's like, I think if we recognize that, like what is working, what isn't, and giving ourselves grace and
Yeah.
love no matter what, and not just celebrating the wins or when the scale is down, because guess what? Like I weighed myself today, which I only do on Tuesdays. And next Tuesday, it might be up a little. I'm not going to be mad at myself. Like you said, it could be the water retention. It could be whatever. It could be like the cycle. It could be the hormones. It could be whatever. It's like not becoming obsessed is also awesome. Like we talk about the stress of it all is going to
Yeah.
just freak out your body too. Do you think?
Absolutely. And I think even with all of that, like kind of recapping the whole episode, I think something that I
Right.
tell my group fitness classes, every single class, like is my constant cue is you are the boss of your body. So being able to remember that we are the bosses of our own bodies. We can dictate the way we move. We can kind of like what you were
Mhm.
saying, like we can actively choose to take care of ourselves. We can actually actively choose whatever it is that we're taking in mentally, like what kind of media are you taking in and how is that affecting
Mhm.
you? What kind of food are you taking in? How is that affecting you? Like we are the bosses of our body. We get to determine what happens to these beautiful, gorgeous creations that we get to just be our homes, right? And so I think that's kind of what it comes down to is just remembering that if things are not working the way we want them to, we have the ability to change that, whether that means getting more serious, buckling down, or stepping back and taking a break,
Mhm.
or if it means choosing like actively and intentionally, because we love that word in this episode, what we're going to do, how we're going to move, how we're going to eat, and just remembering that we have that control. We have the ability to make those choices and be the ones to celebrate them and recognize them. So I love everything that you've been like all the wisdom that you've just been dropping. I'm like, yes. It's so
Same with
good.
you. Same with you. And I just know that like you and I deal with this. We struggle with this. We have our frustrations. We have our successes. So does every woman. And so I think just giving us that grace and then just also going back to what do I want? Yes, it might be uncomfortable. It is always uncomfortable. Growth is
Yeah.
uncomfortable. And then just going for it anyway is how we're all going to reach those goals and just be our happiest selves, you know? Ah,
Yes.
so good. You're so good. Okay, so you all have to follow where before I ask you the last question, where can everyone find you? Find your what's it called? Dance formation video?
Oh, my dance formation. Yeah.
Yeah. And all the other things that you put on your social is so good. So you're gonna laugh at the last question. So tell us where to find you first.
So you can find me on Instagram. I'm Andy Marie, and I always have to spell it because I'm in Utah. So it's
Please do.
ANDIMAREE, Marie. Andy Marie on Instagram.
Mhm.
And then you can also find me in the LadyBoss community, which is a free community that you can all be part of. And if you are part of it, make sure you share this episode and let them know what you learned from it
Yes.
because we want
Thank you for
everyone to
that.
know. Yeah, we want everyone to know.
Yes.
And what a great place to just like share within our tight knit
Yes.
community of women. This
Yeah.
I feel like this was a really good episode, so I feel like everyone needs
I
to hear
know.
it.
It was so good. good. I agree. Yes, we would love. Thank you for reminding me. Thank you for recapping. Like we should just do the rest of them together. So, and then, and then thank you. Yeah, you guys, like, please, everybody, like, we would love for you to subscribe to this, share this with friends, share it on social. If there's clips on the LadyBoss Instagram, please share it on your story. Give us a 5-star rating and tell us what you think. I love when I actually get to hear why you specifically like these. And a really cute, my mom was trying to leave a review the other day and she was like, it won't let me. Cause I'm like, I think you're using your full name, Mom. I think you just have to give like a name or something. I don't know. That's what I heard. She was like, I was so confused. It was so cute. Okay. So, but yes, follow Andi. She is such a joy to watch and learn from and just get inspired by. I mean, also mom of 3, hello, with a smile and energy still going. So yay. So with that, I always give a last question and here's your question. So like I said, don't be afraid. But on social, you're fun, you're playful, you connect. Like I feel like I know you when I see you on Instagram, that's a gift. Someone could do a dancing video, but I'm like, I got nothing. And I'm like, I know her. Like I could see in your eyes and I could see you love it and that whatever. I could feel your energy. So you're so good on social and with your dancing and all that. How do you just decide in that empty locker room to push record and have that confidence and have that energy? Like what fuels you to do that? And if someone's like, I wish I could be like her on social, but I don't know what to do. Like how could they channel that energy? And what do you recommend for them to have that social confidence?
Like,
I know, it's a lot.
I'm like, that is a lot. There's that quote that's like, dance like no one's watching and just record yourself like no one's watching. Like,
I love that.
dance like
so
someone might walk in on you in a minute, but live large.
Oh, that is
I'm just kidding.
so good.
But I think
record like no one's watching.
record like no one's watching. But I think also being able to remember, like I love pictures and I love videos and I love when, like, I had a friend. I went to the Zumba convention a few years ago, and my friend was teasing me because I cried at everything. I just wear my heart on my sleeve. Like anything that makes me happy, I'm sobbing. Like we went to Disneyland, I'm like crying. There's fireworks, I'm like, they're so beautiful. But I cry there. You can't beat those. You can't top those
it's
fireworks.
A small world. I cry.
It's a small. It's so beautiful. But so she started to tease me, and then she started to video me every time I cried. And at the end of convention, I just got used to it. I didn't even care anymore. But she sent me all these clips of me sobbing. And it made me realize, like, first, how funny that I cry all the time. But there were so many moments that I was like this and just like really feeling these moments. And I like those pictures and videos are so precious to me. And it made me realize, like, how often do we get to take these pictures and videos just to see these glimpses of these moments? Whether if it's of us or our kids or whatever. And there's always like the criticism, like, don't record fireworks. No one's going to watch the videos. But it's like, the reality is, like, one day I'm going to look back at those videos and remember those glimpses and look at those moments. And so whether it is dancing in the locker room or whether it's, Disneyland crying at the fireworks, I think being able to just have that record and know that and think of it like that. Like there are some people that are like, I have so many, pictures of myself, or like my husband would tease me of how many selfies I have. And I'm like, but I want to have this record. Like that's, for me, it's a record of this moment. And I don't want to miss recording this. And take it to the next level and like print the pictures. But I think it's one thing to like feel those things, and then to share it on the internet, I think sometimes can be really, really scary because you just don't know what you're getting on the internet. I would just say, post a picture, post it. And I think any time I've posted something and shared from my heart, I've actually never received criticism or mean people. Like, thankfully, I'm not going to manifest that, but I think people can really tell when you're sharing from your heart, and they want that connection and they want to celebrate with you just as much. And the more that you share, the more that you unlock this ability to connect to people that you don't even realize need you. They need your gift. They need your confidence, and they need your bravery, and they watch you and they want so much to emulate you. And so give them that opportunity to learn from you. Give them that opportunity to share those like special moments with you, as small as they feel. and know that like it's always it's someone's going to benefit from that record. Someone's going to benefit, and it might just be you looking back in 5 years. But I think that's what I would
Mm,
say. Take the
that
picture,
is so good.
record like dance like no one's someone's about to walk into the locker room, and then also just share it because of the love. Like we love sharing things that we love. And so love yourself
Love
and share
that.
the world. Share it
Yeah.
with the world.
All right. I'm not even going to say anything after that. That was like the best way to end it. You are so awesome. Thank you for helping us believe in ourselves, giving us the tools that we need to be the boss of our bodies and to get past any of the, frustrations we have. And thank you for your honesty and just being such a joy. I mean, this has just been so fun hanging out with you. And I love that everyone gets to know you better and better and better because you're awesome. And
Thank
I'm
you.
just so proud and happy to be doing this alongside you. So
Likewise.
thank you so much. We'll see you on the next one, girlfriend. All right.
See
Bye,
ya.
everybody.